The entry of new armed actors and more sophisticated technology, including explosive weapons, into the fighting is putting children's safety at even greater risk. The recruitment and use of children by armed groups is rampant. We estimate that children currently account for a staggering 50% of armed group members active today. Children are being forced into combat roles, directly participating in armed confrontations. Others are being used as couriers, as lookouts, as porters to carry weapons, or are exploited for domestic labor, roles that expose them to grave and lasting physical and psychological harm. As I saw when I visited Haiti, children are being subjected to appalling sexual violence that has reached unprecedented levels. In 2024, the number of reported cases of sexual violence against children rose by 1,000% over the previous year. And as you will have seen in the Secretary General's annual report on children in armed conflict, the UN found that a quarter of all cases of verified sexual violence were gang rapes. This constitutes a widespread campaign to terrorize communities and inflict lasting physical and psychological trauma on children, especially girls, who account for most of the victims and survivors. Excellencies, in the face of this devastating situation for children, UNICEF and our partners are being denied access to provide the humanitarian response that is so desperately needed, which, I would add, is also a grave violation of children's rights. In 2023, the UN verified 5 incidents of denial of humanitarian access, while last year that number skyrocketed to 728. In denying access, armed groups are undermining the ability of humanitarian actors to reach 1.6 million children and women in areas under their control. This is also impeding our efforts to monitor and report on the grave violations committed. Last month, 6 UNICEF staff members were taken hostage by an armed group while carrying out a life-saving humanitarian mission. Thankfully, they have since been released, but this incident reveals the dangers humanitarian colleagues on the ground are facing. Humanitarian workers are not and must never be targets. Despite these challenges and the insecurity, UNICEF and our partners remain on the ground working to deliver life-saving assistance for those in need. Together with our partners, so far this year, we have treated 21,000 children for severe wasting, provided health care to 117,000 people, and reached 140,000 people with safe water. We continue our efforts to engage and negotiate with armed actors to prevent and end grave rights against children. And we are supporting the authorities to develop a child-sensitive and child-friendly system to respond when violations are reported. Since 2024, the government of Haiti and UNICEF have demobilized and reintegrated over 140 children through the framework of the Protocol for the Handover of Children Associated with Armed Groups. And just last month, the Haitian government, in partnership with UNICEF, officially launched the Prevention and Rehabilitation Program against children and youth recruitment. This 3-year program seeks to protect children from recruitment, exploitation, and violence while offering them reintegration solutions and support. But far more must be done to protect Haiti's children from the scourge of violence that has taken hold in their communities. Today, I ask members of this council to use all available leverage to protect children and to support concrete actions to prevent further violations. I ask you to demand that all armed groups end attacks on schools and hospitals, immediately release children from their ranks, and allow secure, unimpeded access for humanitarian workers to safely reach communities in need. I ask that you appeal to security forces on the ground to prioritize the safety and protection of all children, and to ensure they are treated as children first and foremost, taking every measure to further avoid killing and injuring children, including those who have been recruited. I ask that you support the government of Haiti and its partners to prioritize children's rights across public policies and through investment in social services. This includes education, healthcare, justice, and social protection for children. This also includes reintegration for children currently or previously associated with armed groups, and for children who have been subjected to sexual violence and other grave violations. Lastly, we call on donors to show solidarity with the Haitian people and contribute to funding appeals. The Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan to address the needs of nearly 4 million people in Haiti is just 10% funded. Without immediate donor support, our life-saving assistance and protection services for those most in need are at serious risk. Excellencies, grave rights violations against children in Haiti or anywhere in the world cannot be tolerated. Every child deserves a chance to be safe, healthy, and to live in peace. But peace can only be forged and sustained when children are prioritized and protected. UNICEF stands ready to work with this Council, with Haitian children and communities, and with every partner dedicated to this cause. We must urgently respond with a shared commitment to finally deliver the promise of a peaceful, prosperous society for all of Haiti's children. Thank you very much.
I thank Ms. Russell for her briefing. I now give the floor to Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt.
Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, we gather once again today with heavy hearts. We're here to address a reality that shakes us deeply, the suffering of children in Haiti. Haiti, this great nation, a symbol of courage and freedom, is enduring one of the darkest and most difficult chapters in its recent history. At the center of the storm are children, innocent and vulnerable, children who are the bearers of the future and who are paying the highest price. Armed violence is tearing Haiti apart like a broken guitar, the strings of which produce nothing but tears and cries. Armed groups have overtaken entire neighborhoods. They've robbed children of the lightness of their steps. Children now live in a symphony of fear in which every alleyway has been turned into a dissonant note. And it is these very same children who are paying the heaviest price. They're being forcibly recruited, abused, used as cannon fodder. Used as cannon fodder as if their youth no longer held any value. In 2024 alone, recruitment of children surged by 70%. This persistent and worsening situation threatens the future of an entire generation. Over 680,000 children no longer have a home to grow up in. They sleep in overcrowded conditions, where even the air seems heavy with sorrow. Many of them are exploited, humiliated, subjected to verbal, psychological, physical, and often sexual violence. Rape, especially rape against girls, has risen by more than 1,000% in 2024 versus 2023. The Secretary General's latest report on grave violations against children in Haiti confirms this tragedy. Abductions, killings, sexual violence, attacks on schools and hospitals now run into the hundreds. Schools which used to be open sanctuaries have become minefields. Schools are being destroyed and classrooms have been converted into shelters for displaced families. This reality is a silent condemnation of an entire generation. Today, more than 1.5 million children are being deprived of regular access to education. 3.3 million, that's 2 out of every 3, rely on humanitarian aid. 129,000 children are at risk of dying of hunger this year. Ladies and gentlemen, behind these figures, which we repeat aloud over and over, there are faces, names, fragile dreams. Perhaps that of a little girl who wanted to be a doctor, or that of a boy who dreamt of playing drums at a carnival. Sadly, these dreams are now on hold. They're being snuffed out. I speak before you today as a musician and a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. But above all, I speak to you as a Haitian. The child I once was always dreamt of contributing to building a better world by carrying the messages of love, peace, and solidarity to people across our planet. At this very moment, I'm here before you, fulfilling my dream. And I'm convinced that, just like myself, the child you once were is also here in this chamber today, realizing their dream of becoming diplomats, ambassadors, agronomists, doctors, teachers. The list goes on. Let us give that same chance to our children, the chance to grow, to dream, and to one day become agents of change in our world. Let us give them back the most fundamental right, their childhood. Give them once again the opportunity to laugh, to run, to learn, to dream. Let us carry together their dignity, their hope, and their future. Let us take action so that Haiti may once again have schools, hospitals, and safe spaces. Let us take action so that children no longer have to live in fear, but to live upheld by the promise of tomorrow. Let us act so that the future of Haiti is no longer compromised, but propelled forward by the energy, the laughter, and the dreams of its children. Ladies and gentlemen, the children of Haiti have sounded the alarm, raising a cry of urgency. The time to come to their aid is not tomorrow nor the day after. It is now. I thank you.
I would like to thank Mr. Roosevelt for his briefing. I will now make a statement in my capacity as representative of Panama. Your Excellencies, I would like to begin by warmly welcoming the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. I thank him for being here, which is a matter of particular significance for Panama, because it reflects not just this organization's commitment, but also the geographical and human proximity that binds us to the reality that we are discussing today. I would also like to thank Ms. Russell, Executive Director of UNICEF, for her briefing and for her constant leadership to help children in the most difficult contexts. I would also like to express our deep thanks to Jean-Jean, whose work in Haiti has already changed lives and whose voice today reminds us from civil society of the direct impact that our decisions have on the lives of thousands of Haitian children. We have convened this meeting to address a reality that demands our full attention, that is to say, the humanitarian crisis in Haiti, and in particular, the tragic plight of Haitian children. This is a topic that, unfortunately, has not received the necessary attention on the Security Council's agenda, even though it is one of the most serious crises in all of our hemisphere, where only silence has been heard. This same people, who once inspired an entire region, including ours, to rid themselves from colonialism and slavery, are today facing unprecedented criminal violence. Your Excellencies, speaking about Haiti today means, above all, speaking about the children of Haiti, boys and girls who, in spite of their suffering, are carrying on their shoulders a weight that no child should have to bear. The last report of the Secretary General on children in armed conflict in 2024 verified an unprecedented increase in grave violations throughout the world, and Haiti was one of those countries with the highest percentage increase in violations against children in the entire report. 2,269 grave violations were verified against 1,373 children, and specifically 351 children killed or maimed, 302 recruited by gangs, and 566 victims of sexual violence, including 160 cases of gang rape, which constitutes a 490% increase in comparison with the previous year, 2023. This means that access to essential services and justice for the survivors is of paramount importance. This is in addition to widespread internal displacement. Some 1.3 million people have been displaced from their homes. Of those, 680,000 are boys and girls. Families are having to repeatedly flee, and they continue to put their lives on the line. Many going towards impromptu locations without any basic services, and this only exacerbates risks of protection, health, and nutrition, particularly for women and children. Your Excellencies, there is also a health, food, and educational emergency. Violence has cruelly struck the heart of the classrooms. In 2024, 284 schools were destroyed, and only in January of this year, another 47 schools were destroyed in the capital, Port-au-Prince. In addition to this, fear and attacks have meant that that at least 959 schools have had to close. Many of them have been converted into makeshift refuges for families who have lost everything. It is a devastating state of affairs. By the 30th of April this year, 1,606 schools remained closed in 4 departments of the country. As a result of this, more than 243,000 students have seen their right to education cut off. They have been deprived not just of the ability to learn, but also of the hope for a better future. In addition to this, with persistent scarcity and hunger, the entire food supply chain is under threat. The people of Haiti are risking their lives to secure the scarce available products that there are. Peasants in the Artibonite are fearful to cultivate their land. Truck drivers have to pay extortionate taxes to the gangs in order to transport food. In this very difficult context, more than half of the Haitian population, some 5.7 million people, are suffering acute food insecurity. And this includes more than 37,000 pregnant women. In addition, more than 1 million boys and girls are facing urgent levels, and some 120,000 children under the age of 5 risk acute, serious malnutrition. In addition, people are struggling to get at basic services, drinking water and health services. Haiti is one of the 5 countries in the world that is most affected by food insecurity in the world. These figures are not simple statistics. Behind every figure, there is a childhood that's been cut off too early. Empty desks in schools that are waiting for teachers to come back and dreams that are not able to flourish. Your Excellencies, the 2025 Humanitarian Response Plan called for $908 million. And even though that was 751.6 million of that was stated to be a priority, by the midway through this month, only 19.5% had been funded, which is the lowest percentage in the entire world. This plan aims to help 3.9 million people, but it is on the cusp of gridlock today. Closing this gap is not just a technical, statistical matter. It is literally the difference between life and death for thousands of women, children, and older people in Haiti. Given this reality, and the most vulnerable are bearing the brunt of this crisis, given this, Panama proposes a response that is focused on children, in line with this Council's resolutions. We call for all security measures to include child protection measures as well as unhindered access for United Nations monitoring teams and the relevant protocols. We call on all parties to abide by the Safe Schools Declaration and the guidelines to avoid the military use of schools, and urgently to finance the restructuring of infrastructure, as well as the protection of teachers and safe learning, particularly in the highest risk areas. We also urgently call for finance to be prioritized in critical areas such as nutrition, including treating severe emaciation and transfers to guarantee food. We also need to ensure that healthcare is provided through mobile clinics and immunization, water and sanitation, with measures to deal with cholera, and safe spaces and psychosocial support for children as well. Your Excellencies, every figure is a story that can still have a different outcome. A recruited child who can go back to school, a girl who survived violence, who can receive attention and justice, a baby with serious acute malnutrition who can still recover if therapeutic milk reaches them in time, a displaced family who can live again without fear. As the Haitian saying says, men ampil chez pas lourd. With many hands, the work is light. That is precisely what needs to be done. Panama takes inspiration from this popular adage to urge the international community to join more hands together and to close the gaps that the Haitian people are facing today. Panama will continue to work with this entire Council and also with the multinational support mission, with the United Nations Office, BNU, and with the Republic of Haiti as well, to ensure that the protection of children is the benchmark of success of our collective action. We owe the children of Haiti more than figures and speeches. We owe them results. Thank you very much. I once again resume my function as President of the Council, and I now will give the floor to those Council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Executive Director Catherine Russell, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt for your briefings. The United States remains concerned about escalating levels of violence in Haiti. The territorial expansion of the gangs threatens to undermine gains made by both the Haitian National Police and the multinational security support mission. We continue to condemn the recruitment of children in armed gangs and the disproportionate impact of gang violence on children. In 2024, Haiti was reported as one of the countries with the most violations and abuses against children, with the large majority committed by the Vivre Ensemble coalition, which for the first time was listed in the Secretary General's report on children in armed conflict. Due to the violence, over 1.3 million people, half of them children, have been displaced. Children face constant risks of being killed or injured during gang attacks, police operations, or acts of mob justice. Forced recruitment by gangs and recurring incidents of sexual violence rob children of the peaceful lives they deserve. Corruption and indiscriminate violence remain major issues. We have taken concrete steps to counter impunity for those supporting violence in Haiti, with the United States designation of Vivre Ensemble and Grand Griffe as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. We applaud this Council for the recent designation of Vivre Ensemble and Grand Griffe as well. This sends an important message from the international community that we hold bad actors and entities to account. The United States recently announced a $5 million reward for information leading to the arrest of gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, also known as Barbecue. In addition, we remain committed to the removal and prosecution of criminals and enablers hiding in the United States who contribute to the violence and destruction in Haiti. These significant steps taken by the United States demonstrate the Trump administration's commitment to countering these criminal gangs and foreign terrorist organizations. Mr. President, food insecurity also remains a pressing concern. Active humanitarian and life-saving assistance awards continuing in Haiti include U.S.-grown emergency food aid, nutrition support, logistics, shelter, clean water, and medical services for crisis-affected Haitians. This sort of programming addresses critical needs like food, shelter, medical care for violence-affected children and survivors of sexual violence, cholera treatment and prevention, hygiene, and malnutrition treatment for families and children. In June, the Organization of American States General Assembly the United States also co-sponsored a resolution which passed unanimously to galvanize action for Haiti and to complement efforts here at the UN. Moreover, the United States continues to work with the OAS as it proceeds with its roadmap for Haiti. This is an important step toward the regional leadership we expect on such shared regional challenges. Mr. President, with respect to the MSS mission, the United States thanks Kenya for its dedication, leadership, and support for over the past year. Kenya answered Haiti's call at a critical moment, demonstrating an enormous compassion and courage, putting its people in harm's way, thousands of miles from home, and preventing a complete collapse of the Haitian state. Without the presence of the MSS mission, the gangs would have been even more emboldened in their ambitions and brazen atrocities against civilians in Haiti. We would also like to thank the Bahamas, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, and Jamaica for contributing personnel toward this effort, and to Canada for its sizable contribution to the UN Trust Fund and to the planning efforts. As we look to combat the threat of terrorist gangs looking to topple the state, we must ensure an even greater share of the international community is invested in the fight. To address this, today, the United States and Panama are sharing a draft UN Security Council resolution with this council to help address the growing violence by establishing a gang suppression force and creating a UN support office to provide logistical support to efforts on the ground. We urge council members, join us. Join us in responding to the call from the Haitian government as we forge a new path toward peace and security and establish the UN Support Office to properly and sustainably resource this effort. This will ensure the mission has the tools at its disposal to take the fight to the gangs and ensure that the Haitian state can meet the foundational needs of its people. President, we note the next international force must be resourced to hold territory, secure infrastructure, and complement the Haitian National Police. In parallel, a comprehensive approach is required to disrupt gang financing, arms trafficking. On this collective challenge, we need international stakeholders and donors to come to the table and join the United States, Panama, and others who have demonstrated their commitment to Haiti's security in meaningful burden sharing to help promote stability in Haiti. We stand with the Haitian people as they seek a secure, stable future for their country. We remain committed to working with the international community to drive progress forward in Haiti and call on all council members to take concrete action in support of this effort. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, President. I thank the Secretary General, Executive Director Russell, and Mr. Roosevelt for briefing us today. And I welcome the participation of the representatives of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados in our meeting. I'll make 3 points. First, the United Kingdom remains deeply concerned about the escalating humanitarian crisis in Haiti. As we've heard today, this crisis is driven by gang violence and instability that devastates communities and undermines efforts to restore democratic governance. We are particularly concerned by the impacts on children, who are among the most vulnerable victims of this crisis. 1 in 8 children in Haiti have been displaced. Armed gangs are systematically recruiting minors, fueling a surge in exploitation, sexual violence, and abuse. These atrocities spread fear and inflict lasting trauma on Haiti's young people. The UK remains firmly committed to supporting efforts to tackle insecurity in Haiti, and we unequivocally condemn the use of sexual violence, sexual and gender-based violence as a tool of control and terror. Second, we commend Kenya's leadership of the Multinational Security Support Mission, and we express our strong support for the vital work of international partners, including BNU, in helping the Haitian authorities deliver change for the Haitian people. As part of this commitment, the UK has provided $6.7 million to fund OHCHR's work with the MSS to help ensure compliance with international standards on human rights, conduct and discipline. In parallel, we continue to take action against those responsible for human rights violations, including through the implementation of targeted sanctions. Third, re-establishing security is essential to Haiti's long-term stability and to alleviating suffering. In this context, we welcome the Secretary General's recommendations for enhanced security assistance for Haiti. President, we stand ready to work with the US, Panama, and all Council members to mobilize that support to the Haitian people and to help Haiti's children enjoy a future free from violence, fear, and hunger. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the UK for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President, for convening this meeting, and we thank the Secretary General for his comprehensive briefing that provided a clear and authoritative account of the situation in Haiti. And I also thank Catherine Russell for UNICEF's sobering assessment. We also appreciate the testimony by Mr. Roosevelt. Pakistan also welcomes the participation of the representatives of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados in this meeting. Mr. President, Haiti confronts a crisis of extraordinary complexity. Governance collapse, rampant criminal networks, and a deepening humanitarian emergency. Addressing this requires urgent, coordinated international support alongside a Haitian-led and owned process to restore security, advance the political process, rebuild institutions, and expand humanitarian relief. 3 points deserve emphasis. First, the humanitarian situation is dire. Over 1.3 million are displaced and nearly half the population, 6 million people, need urgent aid. Children are the most affected. As the Secretary General said, children are bearing the brunt of this crisis. Millions lack healthcare, clean water, and schooling. 2.85 million face acute food insecurity, with 1 million at emergency levels. Safe, unhindered humanitarian access is critical to prevent further loss of life and social collapse. This overlooked and underfunded situation, as the Secretary General put it, needs to be addressed. Second, humanitarian relief must be matched by political progress. Haiti's leadership must rise to the occasion, demonstrate unity, and put the national interest first. The Transitional President Council carries a vital responsibility to steer the country through this crisis. Lasting peace must be Haitian-led and supported by sustained international backing. The emerging signals of hope reported by the Secretary General are encouraging. We concur that the fragile gains must be protected and expanded. Third, stabilization requires strong state institutions, police, justice system, and governance structures. Armed gangs must be dismantled and children protected from recruitment and all aspects. Rule of law must be restored. The multinational security support mission, composed primarily of Kenyan personnel and other contributors who are diligently fulfilling their mandate in extremely challenging circumstances, deserves robust council backing. and BNU's continued role remains indispensable in reinforcing security, governance, and political stability. We also welcome the interest and proactive engagement by countries in the region to support Haiti in tackling the challenges that it confronts. Mr. President, the Haitian people deserve to live in peace and dignity, free from fear, free from want. They cannot be left to violence and despair. This is a test of the international community's resolve. Collective, timely, and bold action is indispensable. Pakistan stands in solidarity with the Haitian people. We have supported the Secretary General's recommendations submitted in February this year, and we are ready to work with all Council members, including our US and Panamanian colleagues, to help deliver security, stability, and hope to Haiti. I thank you.
Agradezco a la delegación de Pakistán su declaración. Doy la palabra a la delegación de Grecia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Panama and the United Islands continues to ravage Haiti, and the mandate of the multinational security support mission approaches its expiration next month. The presence of the Secretary General underscores the gravity of the situation and the urgency for decisive Council action. I wish to thank His Excellency Mr. Guterres for his comprehensive briefing, as Greece fully subscribes to his call for immediate action. I would also like to thank the Executive Director of UNICEF, Ms. Catherine Russell, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt for highlighting the horrific acts of violence and unthinkable cruelty against children. And we welcome the presence of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados. In view of the above, I would like to make the following 3 points. First, Greece remains deeply concerned about the deteriorating security situation, with gangs extending their territorial control in Centre and Artibonite departments. The MSS has delivered positive results in combating gang violence in the capital, thanks to the steadfast leadership of Kenya and the valuable commitment of all contributing nations. However, the MSS continues to face critical logistical and financial shortfalls. As we have consistently underlined, providing further UN logistical and operational support in line with the Secretary General's recommendation is an essential step towards stabilizing Haiti. In this regard, we welcome the announcement just made by the pen holders that they will put forward a resolution on the way forward. And we take positive note of the letter sent by the Haitian authorities yesterday announcing the intention by certain member states to establish a standing group of partners. At the same time, efforts to curb criminal activity, including illicit arms and drug trafficking, must be strengthened through the strict enforcement of the arms embargo and the sanctions regime. In this regard, we welcome the recent designation of gangs, Viva and Sam and Grand Grif, under the Haiti sanctions regime. Second, as we have heard today by the Executive Director of UNICEF, also highlighted in the Secretary General's latest report on children and armed conflict, violence against children in Haiti has reached unprecedented levels. We call for an immediate end to all grave violations against children, notably the recruitment and use by gangs. Safeguarding their access to safety, healthcare, essential services, and education must remain a top priority. We commend UNICEF's life-saving efforts, and we welcome the launch of the Prevention and Rehabilitation Program against children and youth recruitment, a valuable partnership between UNICEF, the Haitian government and the European Union. Third, women are also bearing the brunt of this crisis. Gender-based and sexual violence, including systematic rape and collective rape, is being used as a tool of terror and subjugation. According to the Secretary General's most recent report on conflict-related sexual violence, released just last week, Haiti ranks among the 5 most affected displacement sites. This is particularly alarming, given that 1.3 million Haitians are internally displaced and half the population faces acute food insecurity, conditions that heighten women's vulnerability to sexual violence and harmful coping mechanisms. Mr. President, Greece strongly supports efforts to restore security and improve dire humanitarian conditions in Haiti, paving the way for a peaceful and sustainable political transition. We stand ready to work closely with all Council members in this direction. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Greece for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of France.
Monsieur le Président,
President, first of all, I'd like to thank the Secretary General for being here with us in the Council this morning and for his commitment to bring about a return to security and stability in Haiti. I would also like to thank the Executive Director of UNICEF, Catherine Russell, for her briefing on the worrying situation facing children in the country, as well as the briefing provided by Mr. Roosevelt. I also welcome the Chargé d'Affaires of Haiti to this meeting. President, re-establishing security in Haiti remains our priority. As we have just heard, the situation on the ground is alarming. The Haitian people, particularly women and children, continue to suffer gang violence. The gangs are now operating outside the region of Port-au-Prince. The situation in Haiti is now mentioned in the blacklist in the Secretary General's annual report on children and armed conflict. Half of the people, some 6 million people, need humanitarian aid. More than 1 million people are internally displaced within Haiti, and more than half of them are children. The deterioration of the security situation is preventing aid from getting in and is depriving Haitians from access to basic services. France has stepped up with urgent humanitarian aid of more than 25 million euros since last year to combat food insecurity and to provide assistance to those who have been displaced. The re-establishment of democratic institutions and the rule of law in Haiti is critical if there is to be an end to violations of human rights and international law. This means that the political transition must move forward, and this involves re-establishing security conditions which will allow elections to be held. President, to achieve that, this Council must continue to use all the tools it has at its disposal, and this includes sanctions. They are a key tool to combat the gangs and transnational criminal networks that fuel them. This is a critical lever to support the work of the Haitian National Police and the Haitian justice system. France supported the addition of the Vive Ensemble and Grand Guif gangs on the sanctions list. Extending the sanctions to individuals that support and finance the gangs is something that must continue, and particular attention must be given to those who are violating the arms embargo which was imposed by Council Resolution 2653. This embargo, like the individual sanctions, must be strictly implemented. And that is why the Haitian authorities must be provided with the necessary support to do this. Heightened international support in terms of security in Haiti is of paramount importance. France has provided support, including financial support, to the MSS in Haiti. France once again pays tribute to. In light of the results that have been seen, this mission must be better equipped and may better equipped in terms of troops in particular to curb the expansion of the gangs and to recover the land that they control. The establishment of a UN Bureau office is needed to provide technical and logistical and operational support to a mission that must be under Chapter 7, as has been said, through a robust mandate, and the Secretary General made recommendations in this regard last February. France is willing to work with all members of the Council to do this and to respond to the appeal launched by the Haitian people to the international community to do this. Thank you. The President, I thank the representative of France for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Guyana.
Mr. President, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3+, namely Algeria, Sierra Leone, Somalia, and my own country, Guyana. The A3+ thanks the Presidency for convening today's briefing on the humanitarian situation in Haiti, and welcomes the participation of the distinguished representatives of Haiti, Barbados, and the Dominican Republic in this meeting. We are grateful to the Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Ms. Catherine Russell for their briefs and have taken careful note of the contribution of Mr. Jean-Jacques Roosevelt and thank him for his important work in Haiti. Mr. President, today's meeting lays bare in the starkest of terms the reality confronting Haiti. Expanding gang violence marked by mass killings, abductions, and sexual and gender-based violence has claimed countless lives, displaced over 1.3 million people, collapsed essential services, and deepened severe food insecurity. The gravity of the crisis is particularly reflected in its impact on children. The Secretary General's most recent report on children and armed conflict recorded a 490% increase in grave violations in 2024 alone, with over 2,000 violations verified, placing Haiti among the 5 countries most affected worldwide, bearing in mind that these figures do not reflect the full scale of violations against children. Women and girls face heightened risks with pervasive incidents of gang rape, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. Meanwhile, the humanitarian response is faltering. The humanitarian response plan is only 10% funded. Gangs continue to impose access impediments by expanding their territorial control, while insecurity further constrains humanitarian operations. The situation is also compounded by the rising deportations of Haitian nationals, which place additional strain on already scarce resources. The A3+ acknowledges the ongoing efforts of the Haitian authorities, supported by bilateral, regional, and international partners, to strengthen institutions and improve the national response capacity. We especially welcome the launch of the Prevention and Rehabilitation Program against Children and Youth Recruitment under the framework of the Protocol for the Handover of Children associated with armed gangs. We urge the Haitian government to continue working closely with UNICEF and partners to protect children from recruitment, exploitation, and abuse, as well as to ensure justice and accountability for the perpetrators of these heinous crimes. We further demand an end to all violations against children and their release from within the ranks of armed gangs. Mr. President, the acute security and humanitarian crisis must be addressed in a coherent and balanced manner, including through a carefully calibrated international response. In this context, the A3+ offers the following 3 points. First, the crisis in Haiti is multidimensional, and so too must be our collective response. The A3+ underscores the urgency of coordinated international action across the political, humanitarian, security, and economic tracks, each of which is inextricably linked and must be addressed in tandem. For any solution to endure, it must be comprehensive, tackling both security and socio-economic challenges, while remaining firmly Haitian-led, Haitian-owned, and Haitian-focused. This must also inform a comprehensive disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process for children who should be treated primarily as victims. This is necessary to prevent an entire generation of boys and girls from being lost and to break recurring cycles of violence against children. Second, The security situation is urgent. Addressing it is fundamental to unlocking progress in all other areas. Without stabilization, humanitarian goods and personnel cannot reach those most in need. In this regard, discussions on safety and security must also address challenges to the safety of humanitarian personnel and the continuity of aid operations. Addressing security risks without accounting for operational safety or vice versa creates gaps and leaves both personnel and affected populations vulnerable. We therefore encourage the Haitian authorities to take the lead, working in close partnership with the UN agencies and other humanitarian actors to implement integrated security approaches that ensure the safety of all humanitarian staff, including local volunteers, who are often the most exposed, and to guarantee safe passage for evacuations where necessary. Third, we wish to underscore the need to restore the rule of law and judicial institutions, which are indispensable for long-term peace. In this regard, we support ongoing efforts to combat corruption, impunity, and the collapse of justice systems. We reaffirm the need to build resilience and safeguard the future of Haiti's children. To achieve this, it is essential to address the root causes of the crisis, strengthen good governance, the rule of law, and accountability, ensure access to public services, especially education and health care, including physical and psychological care, foster economic development, and ensure social inclusion for sustainable peace. We welcome the ongoing contributions of the Security Council, Peacebuilding Commission, ECOSOC, and regionally, Caricom and the OAS in support of Haitian-led efforts. We reiterate our call for stronger collaboration between the UN and all partners, convinced that through sustained collective effort, a lasting solution to Haiti's multidimensional crisis can and will be achieved. Mr. President, as the Security Council deliberates on the way forward in implementing the recommendations of the Secretary General issued in February this year, and as we collectively consider avenues to further broaden support for the Multinational Security Support MSS mission, we wish to underscore the continued importance of sustained assistance to the Haitian security forces. In this regard, we stress the need to prioritize capacity-building efforts, including specific provisions for dedicated child protection resources, and to reinforce the institutional effectiveness of national agencies entrusted with the implementation of Security Council resolutions and the administration of related sanctions measures. Finally, Mr. President, the A3+ reaffirms its unwavering solidarity with the people of Haiti and reiterates its call to the international community not to become desensitized to decades of overwhelming adversity. At this critical moment, we cannot and must not turn away. Instead, we urge action to address human fragility and vulnerability, in keeping with the principles upon which the wider international community to honor Haiti's resilience and with renewed commitment and concrete support. Haiti must not and will not stand alone. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Guyana for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me also thank the Secretary General and Executive Director Russell for their briefings. Time and again, you have sounded the alarm and drawn the world's attention to the dire situation in Haiti, and Denmark commends your leadership. Jean-John Roosevelt, I also want to thank you for your passionate call for action for the children of Haiti. And I welcome the representatives of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados to the meeting. Mr. President, today's briefing leaves no room for doubts. Haiti is a country consumed by crisis. Its people, in particular its children, endure daily insecurity, deprivation, and despair. Allow me to focus on three key areas. First, the humanitarian situation remains dire and requires urgent collective action. Insecurity has spread beyond the capital and across the country. As we've heard, 1.3 million people, more than half of who are children, have been forcibly displaced. Women and girls face widespread patterns of conflict-related sexual and gender-based violence at the hands of gangs as a way to control and instill fear into communities. Hunger plagues more than half of the population, with 2 million people in emergency-level food insecurity and thousands in famine-like conditions. Denmark commends the heroic efforts of the UN and humanitarian partners on the ground. Even in the most difficult circumstances, they continue to deliver. But their resources are strained, their environment is increasingly dangerous, and needs continue to grow. We call on the international community to urgently scale up funding for Haiti's humanitarian response plan, currently funded at around 10%, as we also heard from the Secretary General. Humanitarian workers must be granted access to those in need and protected in line with the principles of civilian protection and humanitarian law. Second, Mr. President, as Executive Director Russell clearly outlined, the toll of these crises has disproportionately impacted Haiti's children. 3 million children, the highest number on record, require humanitarian support and bear the brunt of insecurity. The latest Secretary General's report on children and armed conflict is particularly alarming. And as we heard again from Executive Director Russell, we have a staggering increase of almost 500% in grave violations against children just from 2023 to 2024. Children associated with armed gangs must always be treated as victims. We call on the authorities to facilitate the safe exit of children from gangs and reintegration into the community, and to implement the handover protocol from January 2024. More must also be done to investigate these crimes and end impunity. Accountability must be ensured. Third, Mr. President, tackling this multifaceted crisis requires a concerted and coordinated response. The international community, including this Council, can and must do more. Denmark strongly supports the multinational security support mission and commend Kenya's leadership role and other contributing countries. However, the MSS does not have the capacity to meet the scale of threat and complexity on the ground. We believe there must be greater UN involvement. It is beyond time for this Council to urgently consider the recommendations put forward in the Secretary General's letter to better support the MSS in fulfilling its mandate, and we welcome efforts to this end as presented today and led by Panama and United States. Greater use and implementation of UN sanctions is also critical to combat criminal activity destabilizing Haiti. We welcome the Council's recent additions to the Haiti sanctions list. More individuals could be added, particularly those funding gang activity. The flow of weapons into Haiti remains a key driver of instability, and we call for member states to scale up their efforts to stem the illicit trafficking of arms. In closing, Mr. President, a sustainable and lasting peace must be Haitian-led and Haitian-owned. With 6 months left in the roadmap to restore Haiti's democratic institutions, we strongly urge the Transitional Presidential Council, Prime Minister, and key stakeholders to accelerate their work and prioritize establishing security. The international community must stand with Haiti now to support stability, prosperity, and life of dignity the people of Haiti deserve. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Denmark for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, President. We're grateful to Antonio Guterres and Ms. Catherine Russell, Executive Director, for their briefings. We listened very carefully to the civil society representative as well. The situation in Haiti, unfortunately, continues to deteriorate, as clearly illustrated by the facts the Secretary General voiced today, as by Mr. Roosevelt's account. The multi-level crisis in Haiti is exacerbated by the fact that there simply is no legitimate state authority to speak of. Transitional mechanisms have still not garnered the requisite support in the eyes of Haitian society. Against this backdrop, unfortunately, For now, conditions for either the swift holding of a referendum or general elections initially planned for early next year, these conditions have not been established. This situation has prompted in an uptick of instability on the ground. Against this backdrop, what comes to the fore are the most vile components of society, criminal groups of all stripes. In Haiti, this is being felt particularly acutely. The situation is disastrous. In the region surrounding the capital, the state is de facto absent. And yet we have parallel governance structures rooted in arbitrary action, extortion, and intimidation of the people. They flourish. Over the last few months, their influence has only grown. The last stumbling block which criminals face is the national police. Yet there are many questions hanging over the national police's actions, and these stem from worrying statistics about civilian casualties. The national police, unfortunately, is regularly accused of disproportionate use of force. President, we remain convinced that the primary responsibility for the fate of the people of Haiti, without a doubt, falls squarely on the Haitian authorities. But this doesn't mean that the international community should remain on the sidelines. What's sorely needed is international support for Haitians, especially on security. Regrettably, the most valuable support mechanism for Haiti, that is the Multinational Security Support Mission, the MSS, the mandate extension of which Security Council members will be discussing next month, the MSS continues to face a whole host of predictable difficulties linked to the fact that at the very outset the mission's finances, personnel, and equipment provision were insufficiently clarified. We warned about all of this at the very beginning, yet our warnings fell on deaf ears. What was rightly pointed out by the SG's earlier proposals on strengthening the mission's capabilities, the key precondition for the MSS doing its work successfully is sustainable and predictable financing. The reason is very simple. Donor countries, which established the MSS and initiated the MSS's establishment and portrayed it as a universal means of stabilizing the situation in the country, they are shirking the responsibilities they took on. This is indecorous on the part of Security Council members, especially vis-à-vis Kenya, on whose shoulders the lion's share of problems linked to the deployment and the functioning of the MSS have fallen. We stand convinced that with proper supplies and a bigger contingent, these forces could and will still be able to play a stabilizing role. On this note, we are encouraged by positive signals from from the Organization of American States. Member states have stated their intent to support the MSS. On top of this, without a doubt, there is still need for the UN Integrated Office in Haiti, BINU. We hope that its new leader, whom we know very well from his work on Colombia, Mr. Carlos Ruiz, every success in his new role. We are counting on him managing to launch the political dialogue process, which is so important for the country and which will result in, at last, a formation of the sorely needed legitimate and representative government authorities. In parallel with security issues, what we also need on the island is greater oversight over the sanctions the Security Council has introduced. First and foremost, this is the arms embargo, which exists only in name and is not being complied with. Countries which remain the key suppliers of military-use products flowing to the island. Unless this simple, in essence, but rather effective measure is implemented, there can be no talk about improvements to the security situation, nor about an effective fight against gangs. President, during our discussions on Haiti in the Council, we, as a rule of thumb, attach priority importance to the security situation and the political process. Having said that, we shouldn't forget that the chaos that reigns in Haiti is also hitting the most vulnerable segments of society, first and foremost children, and it's hitting them very hard. They are the future of this young Haitian nation, and they're being subjected to torture, killings, abductions, chilling cases of sexual violence, including against the youngest children. Moreover, what's also leaving an imprint on their fates are regular attacks on schools and hospitals, as well as humanitarian access denials.
Самая же темная сторона гаитянской жизни
–
это повсеместная практика вербовки детей бандами и их активное вовлечение в противоправную деятельность. Сегодня уже половину членов действующих в стране вооруженных группировок составляют несовершеннолетние.
Half of armed groups active in the country are made up of minors. What's more is the majority of enlisted children are used as direct participants in hostilities. What future awaits them under these conditions? Due to the ongoing violence, children are losing out on an opportunity to get an education and medical assistance. According to OCHA, over 1,600 schools in the school have shut, depriving 240,000 children of access to education. Previously, this problem affected the capital first and foremost, but now, because of gang activities, attacks are being waged on educational institutions throughout the country. Schools are also having to be used to house IDPs. Given the deficit of material resources, the authorities are de facto having to choose, giving people shelter or giving their kids an education. And yet, gangs are not above using schools and hospitals as human shields, which only makes the problem worse. President, we stand convinced that a leading role in alleviating the plight of children in Haiti should be played by the Haitian authorities. We know that they're determined to provide protection to children and are prioritizing this issue in the work for the national police. We support their consistent work on demobilizing and reintegrating minors. We believe self-defense groups should not fall outside the scope of these efforts. In turn, international organizations and the international community should furnish all kinds of support to these measures. We've seen that many Haitians continue to rely on international humanitarian assistance. We commend the work of the UN's humanitarian wing in Haiti. Its staff remain on the ground and continue to assist Haitians despite the huge risks to their own safety. In this endeavor, they are assisted by the Haitian police and the MSS. However, many children simply cannot use this assistance. As of April 2025, 1 out of every 4 children in Haiti lived in an area with limited access to life-saving assistance. Over the last few months, little has changed. We shouldn't forget that humanitarian workers are severely limited by the security vacuum that persists in Haiti. President, by way of conclusion, I'd like to underscore that we understand full well that the multi-factor crisis in Haiti has no simple solution. Nonetheless, long-term measures to address the root causes of the crisis and the dire situation of children must be taken here and now. This is the most reliable investment in sustainable and sovereign socioeconomic and political development in Haiti. We hope that the Haitian authorities understand this. Our common objective is to furnish them with all kinds of assistance in this endeavor. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, President. Let me begin by thanking Panama and the United States for requesting this timely briefing in view of the continuing deterioration of the security, humanitarian, and human rights situation in Haiti. Of course, I also wish to thank Secretary General for his remarks and Director Russell for her briefing, as well as Mr. Roosevelt for highlighting the risks that children are facing in Haiti on a daily basis. I welcome the representatives of the Dominican Republic, Barbados, and Haiti to the meeting. Mr. President, at the outset, let me express our deep concern over the escalating spread of gang violence beyond the metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. The growing presence and activities of armed gangs in Haiti's key rice basket region are fueling famine-like conditions and driving record-high displacement, further exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis. We reiterate our call on all actors to allow and facilitate full, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access to these and all other areas, as well as to ensure the respect for and protection of humanitarian personnel. Furthermore, reducing the territorial control of armed gangs in urban hubs, agriculture areas, and along vital transport routes must be an immediate priority to enable and safeguard food production and its unimpeded transport and delivery. Mr. President, we are deeply alarmed that amid widespread human rights abuses, children continue to bear the heaviest burden of the insecurity. Many of them, without possibility for an education, are daily exposed for young girls, recurring incidents of sexual and gender-based violence, including gang rapes. We urge on all actors to uphold their obligations under international law, treat every civilian with dignity, and to end and prevent grave violations and abuses against children. At the same time, national authorities, with support from international community, must prioritize and integrate the safety and protection of all children, including those formerly or currently recruited and used by armed gangs. In this regard, we welcome the government signing of 2024 Handover Protocol, which rightly recognizes children associated with armed gangs primarily as victims, and we call for the continued full implementation of its provisions. Mr. President, to alleviate the suffering of the most vulnerable, particularly children, Slovenia calls on the international community to contribute urgently to the critically underfunded Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan, which is the lowest funded response plan in the world. Ultimately, however, restoring security across the country must be our central focus, as it is the key to Haiti's economic recovery, democratic stability, and what its resilient population is longing for. In recent weeks, the Council has demonstrated unity and taken important steps by adding Vin Ansam and Grongrief to the sanctions list. Gangs responsible, among other things, for committing grave violations affecting children. Yet this Council needs to do more. Now the time has come for us to once again demonstrate unity, heed the numerous calls, and established a UN support office to help Haiti break free from the spiral of a deadly violence. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Slovenia for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to begin by thanking Secretary General Guterres and UNICEF Executive Director Russell for their comprehensive and insightful briefings. My appreciation also goes to Mr. Roosevelt for his sobering testimony. I also welcome the presence of the representative of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Barbados. Mr. President, Korea remains gravely concerned about the continued deterioration of the security situation in Haiti. The escalating violence by gangs and armed groups has driven the humanitarian crisis to unprecedented levels, with the children bearing the heaviest burden, as today's briefers emphasized. Against this backdrop, Mr. President, I would like to highlight 3 points. First, the Security Council must swiftly determine the next step in addressing this crisis. Security remains the indispensable foundation for all progress. We must make full use of the limited time before us to accelerate discussions on the Secretary General's recommendations and reflect them as concretely as possible in the upcoming resolution on the renewal of the MSS mandate. Only then can you provide the people of Haiti with the clarity and support they urgently need. Second, we must keep the humanitarian emergency at the center of our attention, with a particular focus on the children of Haiti, who represent the country's future. Support for education, healthcare, and food security is not only essential to alleviating the immediate crisis, but also to laying the groundwork for Haiti's long-term stability and sustainable development. To this end, we reiterate our call on gangs and armed groups to cease all violations against children and allow unimpeded humanitarian access to the most vulnerable. Third, integrated support from the international community is indispensable. In this regard, we welcome the recent roadmap put forward by the OAS. We hope this initiative will serve as a catalyst to mobilize broader regional and international contributions. And we encourage close coordination between the United Nations and the regional partners and organizations in advancing these efforts. Mr. President, we know that the most vulnerable are bearing the brunt of this crisis. The statistics on children in Haiti are not just numbers. They represent real people. To save the children of Haiti, and thereby Haiti's future, we must act with urgency. The people of Haiti have placed their trust in this council, and we cannot afford to fail them. The Republic of Korea remains ready to work with the Council and the international community to address Haiti's multidimensional crisis and to help return the country to the path of peace and sustainable development. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Republic of Korea for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of China.
President, I thank Secretary General Guterres and Executive Director Russell for their briefings. I've also listened carefully to the statement made by the civil society representative. I welcome the representatives of Haiti, Dominican Republic. The security situation continues to worsen. Its economic development is in a standstill, and the people are suffering deeply. A large number of people do not have enough food. They are displaced and even forced to join gangs. A vast majority of these people are children, the youngest of whom are as young as 8 years old. As major donors have drastically reduced their foreign aid, Haiti's humanitarian program this year has only seen 9% of it being funded, thus exacerbating its humanitarian crisis. China deeply sympathizes with the Haitian people and is deeply concerned about Haiti's prospect. We sympathize with Haitian children especially. China calls on the Haitian authorities, regional countries, and international community to make joint efforts to help Haiti get out of its predicament as soon as possible. First, responsibility must be taken up to promote the political process. The root causes for the chaos in Haiti lies in the absence of a legitimate government and orderly national governance. Although the Haitian transitional authorities have only 6 months left in their terms of office, they should still work actively and effectively protect their population, especially vulnerable groups such as women and children, so as to rebuild the trust of the Haitian people in the authorities and their confidence in the future of the country. We expect the Haitian authorities to unite all partisan factions so that the Haitian-led and owned political process can yield substantive progress at an early date, thus creating conditions and laying foundations for the international community to provide stable, sustainable assistance to Haiti. We welcome BNU and Caricom and others continue to play their positive role in this regard. Second, efforts of all parties must be coordinated to improve the security situation. We call on the Haitian authorities to increase security inputs, rationalize resource allocations, and promote synergy in the international community's security assistance to Haiti. China commands the Kenya-led MSS for its assistance in improving the security situation in Haiti. China calls on the country that initiated and donated to MSS, and in particular the country that bears primary responsibility for the situation of Haiti, to continue to provide funding support. Meanwhile, the Security Council should implement an arms embargo against Haiti and cut off the supply of arms and ammunition to the gangs. China stands ready to continue to work with the Sanctions Committee and UNODC to promote sanctions implementation, increase deterrence against the gangs. China expects regional countries, Caricom and OAS, to continue to increase their support for Haiti. Third, the economy and people's livelihoods must be improved to alleviate their humanitarian hardship. We encourage the Haitian authorities to increase their investment in development and improve people's livelihood. We call on the international community to step up humanitarian assistance to help Haiti eradicate poverty, improve education, healthcare, and social service, so as to continuously strengthen Haiti's ability to safeguard people's livelihoods and develop the economy on its own. We support ECOSOC, PPC, and UN development and humanitarian agencies and continue to play their due roles in these areas. We call on the IFIs, OAS, and other organizations to invest more in helping Haiti to develop its economy, improve people's livelihoods, and eliminate the breeding grounds for violence. Lastly, with regard to the proposal to establish a support office for MSS, China believes that any action taken by the Security Council should be based on careful study and ample reasoning, drawing on the lessons learned from past UN operations and taking into account the legitimate concerns and suggestions of all parties. China stands ready to maintain communication with all parties in searching for a consensus. China will continue to work with the international community to play our constructive role in helping Haiti emerge out of the crisis at an early date. I thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for the statement. I'd also like to welcome the representatives of Haiti, Barbados, and the Dominican Republic to the chamber, and I intend to give them the floor now. First of all, I would like to give the floor to the representative of Haiti.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President.
Monsieur le Président,
President,
Mesdames, Messieurs les ambassadeurs, membres du Conseil de sécurité,
Ambassadors, Security Council
Mesdames,
members,
Messieurs les ambassadeurs, chers collègues,
Ambassadors, distinguished
je voudrais
colleagues,
tout d'abord
at
saluer
the
la
outset,
présidence
we would
panaméenne
like
du Conseil de
to
sécurité
hail
pour le
the
mois d'août,
Panamanian presidency of
et
the
lui
Council
adresser ainsi
during the
qu'aux
month of
États-Unis
August.
d'Amérique
We'd like to extend to
les deux
Panama and to the
co-porteurs
United
sur le
States,
dossier
the two
d'Haïti,
co-pen holders
les
on
remerciements
Haiti,
d'avoir convoqué cette
our
réunion sur la
gratitude for
situation
convening
humanitaire en
this
Haïti.
meeting on the humanitarian
Je
situation in
remercie le
Haiti.
secrétaire
I'd
général
like
pour
to
son
thank the
intervention
Secretary General
détaillée et
for his
éclairante.
detailed and
Nous
edifying
saluons
briefing.
les interventions de la
We'd
directrice
also like
exécutive de
to thank
l'UNICEF,
the
Madame
Executive
Catherine
Director
Roussel,
of UNICEF, Ms.
et de mon
Catherine
compatriote
Russell,
Jean-Jean Roosevelt,
and
qui
my
mettent en
fellow
lumière
Haitian Jean-Jean
l'ampleur des défis
Roosevelt. In
humanitaires
their
par rapport à
statements,
la situation
they
des
put the
enfants
spotlight on the
et nous rappellent
scale of challenges
l'urgence
when
avec
it comes to the
laquelle nous
situation
devons
of
agir.
children. They reiterated
Nous
that
saluons les
time is
interventions
of the essence.
constructives et
We
prospectives des
welcome
membres
the
du Conseil de
constructive
sécurité.
and forward-looking interventions of Security
Nous
Council members
saluons la
as
présence de
well.
l'ambassadeur de la
We'd like
République
to
dominicaine.
thank
Nous
the
saluons
presence
enfin
of
la
the
présence de
ambassador of
l'ambassadeur
the
de la
Dominican
Barbade
Republic as
qui
well as the
va
ambassador of
prononcer une
Barbados,
intervention au
who
nom
will
de
be
la
delivering a
Caricom
statement on behalf
et
of
nous
the
appuyons
Caribbean
cette
community,
intervention.
Caricom. We support
Monsieur le
that
Président,
statement which will be delivered.
nous apprécions à sa
President,
juste valeur l'organisation de
we
cette
fully
importante
appreciate
séance
the convening of this
précédée d'une
important
réunion
session,
cruciale
which was
réalisée
preceded
hier
by a crucial meeting
par
held
l'Organisation des États
yesterday,
américains sur la
an
feuille de route sur
organization
Haïti
of American
pour la
States meeting
stabilité
on
et la paix avec un
the
soutien
Haitian-led
régional et
roadmap for
international.
stability and
Réunion à laquelle ont
peace,
participé le Premier
which
ministre,
garnered regional
son
and
Excellence
international
M.
support.
Alex Didier Fils-Aimé,
Our
et
Prime
le ministre des
Minister,
Affaires
as well
étrangères,
as the
son
Minister
Excellence
of
M.
Foreign
Jean-Victor
Affairs
Havel
of Haiti,
Jean-Baptiste.
participated in
Monsieur le
that
Président,
meeting.
la situation humanitaire en
President, the
Haïti,
humanitarian situation in
comme l'ont
Haiti,
clairement signalé les
as
orateurs qui m'ont
clearly
précédé,
stated by previous
continue de se
speakers,
détériorer à un
continues
rythme
to
préoccupant
deteriorate,
au regard des
and
chiffres
this
présentés.
at a concerning pace, as evidenced by
Permettez-moi
the figures we
d'insister
were
sur
given.
un certain nombre de
I
faits
would like to
qui
stress
fragilisent
a number
le
of
tissu
facts
social
which
en
are
Haïti.
weakening the social
Parmi
fabric in
ces faits, on
Haiti.
peut citer
These include
l'utilisation du viol
the use
par
of
les gangs comme
rape
arme de domination
by
et
gangs as a
d'humiliation,
weapon of domination and
notamment contre
humiliation,
les femmes et les enfants.
especially when waged against
Le
women and
dysfonctionnement du
children.
système de santé,
The
surtout hors de
dysfunction of the
Port-au-Prince,
health system,
où moins de
especially
50%
outside
des structures
Port-au-Prince,
sont actives.
where less than half
L'accroissement
of
de la
facilities are
malnutrition
operating,
devenue l'une des
as well as
préoccupations les plus
the
pressantes.
surge of malnutrition, which
Monsieur
has
le
become
Président,
one of our most pressing
s'agissant de
concerns.
la réponse
President,
humanitaire,
on the
elle
humanitarian
demeure un
response,
impératif vital,
it
compte tenu
remains
notamment du
absolutely
nombre
vital,
important de déplacés
given the high
internes
number of
qui fuient la violence des
IDPs
gangs armés.
fleeing the violence of
Selon
armed
certaines
gangs.
évaluations,
According
un
to
pourcentage
assessments,
important de la
a
population
high
déplacée vit
percentage of the
malheureusement en
displaced
situation
population
d'insécurité
is
alimentaire
unfortunately
et
facing acute food insecurity. What's
une
more
grande
is,
portion de la production
a large
agricole
proportion
n'arrive
of
pas
our
à
agricultural
atteindre
production
les principaux
is
centres de
not
consommation,
reaching the
spécialement
main
la région
centers of
métropolitaine de
consumption,
Port-au-Prince.
in particular the
Pour faire face à
Port-au-Prince
cette
metropolitan
détresse
region.
qui se greffe aux
To
problèmes
address
structurants de
this
notre
distress
société,
that comes on top
le
of structural
gouvernement a
problems in our
mobilisé des
society, the
ressources pour
government
venir
has
en aide
mobilized
à
resources
plus de
so
200
as
000
to
familles
assist
parmi
over
les plus
200,000
vulnérables et les plus
families who
touchées
are
par la
amongst
crise.
the most vulnerable
Nous
and the
sommes
hardest
conscients
hit by the crisis.
que c'est encore
We're
largement
well
insuffisant par
aware
rapport à l'étendue
that
des
this is
besoins.
wholly insufficient
Dans ce
given the scale
contexte,
of need. Against this
pendant
backdrop,
que nos institutions réfléchissent
while our
sur
institutions
les voies et
are
moyens
thinking
permettant
about
d'augmenter de
how
façon
we can
significative l'aide
significantly
alimentaire,
increase
le
food
gouvernement recommande
assistance,
vivement aux
the government
partenaires
has
régionaux et
strongly recommended
internationaux
to regional and
de diriger
international
leur soutien
partners
vers des
that
initiatives
they
permettant le
steer
retour des
their efforts
déplacés à leur
towards
domicile
initiatives which would
et la
allow
réduction de
displaced
leur
persons to
dépendance
return
vis-à-vis de
home
l'aide
and
humanitaire.
to reduce their
Tout ceci,
dependence
Monsieur le
on
Président,
food aid.
en
All of
accord
this,
avec la
President,
proposition du
is in
secrétaire
keeping with
général des
the
Nations Unies
Secretary
pour un
General's
format
proposal
hybride qui combine à la fois assistance sécuritaire,
to have a
humanitaire et
hybrid
développement.
format combining
En effet, la
security,
combinaison de
humanitarian,
ces
and
trois
development
volets est
assistance.
essentielle.
Indeed, combining these
L'assistance
three
sécuritaire
pillars is
permet de
absolutely
restaurer
vital.
l'ordre
Security assistance
et
can
de
help
protéger
restore
les
order
populations,
and protect
tandis que
our
l'aide
population.
humanitaire
At the
répond
same
aux
time,
besoins
humanitarian
immédiats
assistance would
des
meet
couches les plus
immediate needs
nécessiteuses et soutient la
for the
relance
most
agricole pour
vulnerable.
réduire la dépendance alimentaire.
Furthermore, we
La
would
stratégie à court terme
thereby support the
s'appuie sur la
agricultural
recherche de
recovery to
réponses aux
reduce
besoins
food aid
pressants en
dependence.
nourriture,
The short-term strategy,
santé,
underpinned by
éducation
a
et en
search
même temps
for solutions
poser les bases de la
on the
reprise des
immediate needs for
activités
food,
économiques
health,
et de la relance
education,
de la
and
production
at the
agricole.
same time laying the
Le gouvernement
groundwork for a
sollicite en
resumption
ce
of economic
sens
activities
un
and
soutien
an agricultural
logistique
revival is what
sécurisé
we're
pour
after.
l'acheminement
The
de
government
l'aide
thus calls
et un
for
appui
secure
massif à la
logistical
relance
support
agricole
to deliver
et des
assistance,
petites et moyennes
large-scale
entreprises.
support for the
Ces actions sont
agricultural
essentielles pour
recovery
répondre aux
and
besoins
support for
immédiats des
SMEs.
populations
This
vulnérables
action is
et
vital if we're to
réduire
meet
progressivement la
immediate
dépendance
need of
alimentaire.
the most vulnerable
Il
and to
s'agit en
progressively
réalité
reduce
d'une
dependence
approche
on food
intégrée,
aid. This is an
capable de
integrated
répondre
approach which
efficacement
can
à
help to
l'urgence,
effectively
tout en
respond to
jetant
the
les bases
pressing
d'une relance de
needs,
l'économie.
all the while laying the
Monsieur le
foundations for an
Président,
economic recovery.
la gravité de la
President,
situation en Haïti exige
the
un plan
gravity
de
of the
réponse
situation in
humanitaire
Haiti
coordonné,
requires a coordinated
intégré et
humanitarian
durable,
response that's also
disposant de
lasting and
ressources
integrated.
adéquates et
It should
suffisantes,
be endowed with
permettant de
adequate
faire
and
face aux
sufficient
multiples
resources
défis.
so that we can
Il est donc
confront the
préoccupant
multiple challenges we
de
face.
constater qu'à date,
It is
le plan
worrisome
de réponse
to
humanitaire
see that
élaboré par les
the
partenaires
humanitarian
internationaux
response plan
n'est
devised
financé
by
qu'à
our
hauteur de
international
8
partners
millions de
was
dollars
stated earlier
nécessaires
out of the
pour venir en aide à
$908
3,9 millions de
million
personnes dans le besoin.
required to help
Seuls
3.9
70
million
millions de
people in
dollars ont
need.
été
Only
reçus à ce
$70
jour,
million
soit moins de
have been
10%.
received to date. That's
Face
less
à
than
cette
10%.
situation,
Faced
nous
with this
devons faire
situation,
preuve d'imagination
we
pour
must
trouver
find
d'autres sources de
imaginative
financement
ways of
et
securing
gérer de
other
manière
sources of funding.
efficace et
We must
efficiente
also
les maigres
effectively and
ressources disponibles.
efficiently
D'où
manage
la
the paltry
nécessité de
resources
travailler à
we
l'unisson
do have available.
pour l'application
This is why
stricte
we
de
need to
l'engagement
work
de
in
CEVI,
unison
la
so as to
nouvelle
meticulously
architecture du financement de
implement
la
the
coopération
civil
internationale
commitment
à
for
un
a
carrefour
new
où la scène
financing
internationale est dominée
architecture
par
for
de
international
multiples crises
cooperation. At this
qui
juncture,
requièrent
the
et
international
exigent
affairs
du
are dominated by multiple
multilatéralisme,
crises, which
l'urgence de
compel
prioriser l'humanitaire,
multilateralism
la
to urgently
solidarité entre les peuples,
prioritize humanitarian
particulièrement
issues,
les catégories
solidarity
sociales les
among
plus
peoples,
vulnérables,
especially
afin
the
de ne
most
laisser
vulnerable sectors of
personne de
society,
côté.
and all of this
Nous
with
devons
a view
également
to
faire preuve
leaving
de
no one
beaucoup de
behind.
vigilance
We must be
afin
particularly
d'éviter les
vigilant
doublons
so as to avoid
ainsi que les
duplication
démarches
as
isolées.
well as
À cet
isolated
égard,
efforts being
nous
undertaken.
lançons une fois de
On this
plus un
note,
appel
we'd
à
like to
l'action
once
humanitaire
again
coordonnée
call
et
for
soutenue selon les
coordinated and
priorités nationales.
sustained humanitarian action in
Monsieur le
keeping with
Président,
national
pour conclure,
priorities.
la
President, by way of
résolution de la crise humanitaire en Haïti
resolving Haiti's
passe
humanitarian crisis
inévitablement par la résolution de la
inevitably
grave
requires
crise
us to
sécuritaire qui
address
frappe le
the
pays.
serious security
C'est
crisis
pourquoi
afflicting the
nous
country. For
réitérons
this reason,
notre
we'd
appel
like
sur
to once again
l'urgente nécessité pour
reiterate
les
that
membres
there's
du
a
Conseil
pressing need for Security Council
de se prononcer
members
sans
to
trop
take a
tarder
stance without
sur la
delay
proposition
on
du
the
secrétaire
Secretary
général
General's
qui
proposal
contient des
setting
éléments
out
majeurs
the major
concernant le
elements
rôle que
of
l'ONU est appelée à
the
jouer en
role that the
Haïti
UN is called
face à cette
upon
crise
to play in
multidimensionnelle
Haiti
qui a
as
trop
it
duré
faces this
et qui coûte
multidimensional
la
crisis
vie à
which
des
has gone
milliers
on
de
for far
citoyens
too long
innocents.
and
Je
cost
vous
the
remercie,
lives
Monsieur le
of
Président.
millions of innocent civilians. I thank you.
Agradezco a la delegación de Haití
I
su
thank the
declaración.
representative of Haiti for the
Doy
statement.
la palabra a la
I now give the
delegación
floor
de
to the
República
representative
Dominicana.
of the Dominican Republic. President, the Dominican Republic would like to thank Panama and the US for convening this debate on the eve of the 20th anniversary of Resolution 1612, which established an historic framework for the protection of children in armed conflict. We join those, such as the Secretary General, the Director of UNICEF, Ms. Russell, and the civil society briefer, who have spoken before us and underscored that today the international community is facing an unprecedented challenge. Grave violations against children have reached alarming levels, both in terms of their scale and also their cruelty. I would also like to recognize the distinguished representative of Barbados being at this meeting. Haiti is a particularly alarming case in this context, and it is also a litmus test for this Council's credibility. Your Excellency, the situation in the humanitarian situation in Haiti is tragic. More than 5.4 million people are facing acute food insecurity, and 1.3 million have been displaced by violence, half of them children. The lack of food, water, medical and educational services have created a breeding ground for the expansion of criminal gangs. Against this alarming backdrop, children are the main victims. Between 30 and 50% of members of gangs are children and teenagers, recruited forcibly or subjected to tasks of spying and couriering. Girls disproportionately face sexual violence as a way of control and humiliation. In 2024, there were more than 560 cases that were verified, but that's surely only a fraction of a larger, more painful reality. Sir, I'd like to state the obvious. Without security, there can be no humanitarian solution that can be possible in Haiti. No nutritional or health education program can prosper while more than 80% of the country's capital and many other parts of the country remain under the control of criminal armed gangs. The absence of collective effective action has allowed the tragedy to get worse and left children seemingly at the mercy of the gangs. But resolving the crisis is not impossible. What is needed is political will and concerted action. Your Excellencies, the Dominican Republic believes that the path towards stability in Haiti involves three areas of work. First, restoring security and the rule of law. The multinational security support mission led by Kenya is a commendable effort, but it's not enough. This Council must equip it with resources, capacities, and a robust strategic framework to allow it to diminish the power of the gangs and to give civilians safe spaces once again. Secondly, we need to bolster humanitarian assistance, focusing in particular on the plight of children. These programs must prioritize therapeutic food, drinking water, vaccination, and emergency education, and also provide psychosocial care and protection mechanisms for children, particularly focusing on girls who have been victims of sexual violence. Thirdly, we must guarantee the reintegration of minors linked to armed groups. We must see investment in education, vocational training, and community support so that these children find dignified alternatives and do not remain trapped in a cycle of intergenerational violence. President, we acknowledge the efforts that are ongoing in the Council in this regard, and we welcome the initiatives such as the submission of discussion papers and the document that has been put forward by the US and Panama. We hope that this will mobilize international action, and we trust that this will pave the way towards a swift, sustained, and effective response, which will allow Haiti to recover its security and to open the way for development and humanitarian aid. The Dominican Republic reiterates its availability to work constructively within this Council and also the wider UN. Every day of inaction means more children recruited, more girls raped, more families condemned to hunger and displacement. Protecting children means protecting the hope for an entire country. This Council has the duty to show that the international community can respond effectively and with humanity. Thank you, President. I thank the representative of the Dominican Republic for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Barbados.
Mr. President, Excellencies, colleagues, I have the honor to deliver today's statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean community. Caricom would like to thank you, Mr. President, and the members of this Council for convening this meeting. We also take the opportunity to thank UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, UNICEF Executive Director Catherine Russell, and Mr. Jean-Jean Roosevelt for their insightful and heartfelt briefings. Mr. President, Caricom is encouraged that the Council continues to remain engaged on the steadily deteriorating and worrisome situation in Haiti, and that you have chosen to convene this briefing at this most critical moment, a moment when Haiti needs the support of the international community more than ever. Mr. President, as we have heard, requires urgent action. It is for this reason that Caricom reiterates its strong support for the UN Secretary General's recommendations contained in his letter to the Council of February of this year. We continue to look forward to substantive discussions by the Council on those proposals. In our view, the proposals contained in that letter constitute a pragmatic approach to addressing some of the limitations under which the multinational security support mission is presently operating. It is clear that the situation will continue to deteriorate unless the Council acts decisively and with urgency in this regard. No action is therefore not an option before you. In order for there to be sustained and tangible improvement in the living conditions for the people of Haiti, international support and collaboration must remain central and must be significantly enhanced. Caricom therefore underscores other calls for the urgent capitalization of the Haiti Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan and for greater support for the MSS. The briefing by UNICEF Executive Director makes clear that the consequences of our inaction are, as ever, affecting the most vulnerable, the children and the young people of Haiti, most dramatically. Mr. President, Excellencies, Caricom heads of government convened in Jamaica in July and expressed their deep concern over the lack of improvement of conditions in Haiti. At that meeting, they also reiterated their own commitment to expanding efforts to engage with all relevant actors for resources, for security support, and humanitarian assistance. Caricom acknowledges with appreciation the considerable efforts made by the MSS and its contributing member states, including several Caricom countries, and the able leadership provided by Kenya. We also express our appreciation to the leadership and staff of BINU and other stakeholders who have been unsparing in their efforts to address the crisis in Haiti. We look forward, in particular, to working closely with the new SRSG, Carlos Gabriel Ruiz Massieu Aguirre. Mr. President, in closing, time is of the essence. We urge the Council to step up its support to the people of Haiti and to take action today to put an end to the violence and the displacement that has ravaged Haiti and the Haitian people for too long. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Barbados for the statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.
We have another. Declaro abierta la sesión
The 9,989th meeting of the Security Council is called to order.
En el orden del día
The
provisional
provisional
de esta
agenda
sesión
for this
figura
meeting
el siguiente
is
punto: la
the
situación en
situation
Medio Oriente.
in the Middle East.
Queda aprobado el orden
The
del
agenda
día.
is adopted.
De conformidad con el artículo 37 del
In
reglamento
accordance
provisional del
with
Consejo,
Rule 37 of the
invito
Council's
a las
Provisional Rules of
delegaciones de
Procedure,
Israel
I invite
y
the
el Líbano
delegations
a
of Israel
participar
and
en
Lebanon
esta
to
sesión.
take part in this meeting.
Así queda acordado.
It is so decided.
El Consejo de
The
Seguridad
Security Council
comenzará ahora
will now begin
el examen
its
del
consideration
punto 2
of item
del
2
orden del
of the
día.
agenda.
Quisiera señalar
I wish
a la atención de los
to
miembros
draw the
del
attention
Consejo
of Council
el
members to
documento
document S/2025/461,
que contiene una
a
carta de
letter
fecha 11
dated
de
the 11th
julio
of July
de
2025
dirigida a
from
la
the Secretary
Presidencia del
General
Consejo de Seguridad
addressed
por el
to
Secretario
the
General.
President of the Security Council. S/2025/527,
que contiene
the
el
text
texto
of
de
a
un
draft
proyecto de
resolution
resolución presentado
submitted
Francia.
by France.
El Consejo
The
está
Council
listo
is ready
para
to proceed
someter a
to the
votación
vote on
el
the draft
proyecto de
resolution
resolución
before it.
que tiene ante sí. Procederé ahora a
I
someter a
shall now
votación el
put
proyecto
the
de
draft
resolución.
resolution to the vote.
Quienes estén a favor
Will
del
those in
proyecto de
favor of the
resolución
draft
que
resolution
figura en el
contained in document S/2025/527,
sírvanse
please
levantar la mano.
raise their hand.
El proyecto de resolución
The draft
queda
resolution
aprobado por unanimidad
received
como resolución
15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been
2790
adopted unanimously as
de
Resolution
2025.
2790.
Daré ahora la palabra
I will now give the floor to those members of the Council who wish to make statements after the vote.
Doy en primer lugar la
First of all,
palabra
I give
a la
the floor to
delegación
the
de Francia.
representative of France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President.
Et tout d'abord, je voudrais remercier l'ensemble des membres
I'd like
du
to
Conseil de
thank all
sécurité
members of the Security
pour leur
Council
engagement et leur disponibilité tout au long du processus de
and for
négociation
making yourselves available
sur la
throughout the
résolution
negotiations process
qui a renouvelé le mandat
on
de la FINUL.
the resolution which has renewed UNIFIL's
Les
mandate.
négociations de cette année se sont tenues dans un
Negotiations
contexte
this year
particulier,
were taking place in a very
alors que la
specific
dynamique
context.
engagée depuis la cessation
The
des hostilités le
dynamics
27 novembre
since
2024
the cessation of hostilities
a
on the
permis
27th of
d'avancer de
November
manière décisive sur la
2024
voie de la
has
sécurité et de la
managed to
stabilité
place
régionale.
us firmly on the path towards regional stability. Lebanon undertook a bold movement to regain its sovereignty over all its territory, in particular in the south of the Litani region. Hezbollah disarmament plan has been submitted to the authorities. There is an opportunity to make progress on implementation of Resolution 1701. The Council must contribute to these unprecedented efforts undertaken since 2006. Thus, France submitted this draft resolution with a view to renewing UNIFIL's mandate. UNIFIL makes a valuable contribution to security and stability in Lebanon. It has done so over the last few years. Over the last few months, it has shown that it can support the Lebanese armed forces to pinpoint illegal infrastructure to Elia, and also monitoring the situation along the Blue Line, where the Israeli army maintains a presence. UNIFIL's ongoing operations are therefore vital. Any premature withdrawal could. France welcomes the fact that the mandate has been extended to the 31st of December 2026. This precious time will be necessary to work alongside the mounting capabilities of the Lebanese army so that sovereignty can be extended throughout Lebanese territory, although the situation remains precarious. These dynamics imply that the Lebanese state will be the only one upholding security and extending sovereignty. This requires the departure of Israeli forces from Lebanese territory and an end of air operations on its territory. It also, in time, requires UNIFIL's withdrawal so that the LAF can be on the front line ensuring Lebanon's security. President, the situation remains volatile, and vast collective efforts are necessary for long-term stabilization along the Blue Line. With this in mind, the resolution adopted today calls on the Secretariat to consider options for further implementation of 1701 after UNIFIL's departure. These options will allow for adjustments and necessary modifications with the view to avoid any rollback. We stand ready to work with the Secretariat's teams to consider the various bold options, which we invite them to submit to us by June. I thank you.
I thank the representative of France for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Mr. President, at the outset, I wish to express our gratitude to the penholder, France, for its tireless efforts in steering difficult negotiations towards the adoption of Resolution 2790. Algeria firmly believes that Security Council resolutions concerning peace missions must be guided by the will and the consent of the host country and grounded in realities on the ground. UNIFIL remains indispensable to stability in Lebanon and in the region. It has played a key role in de-escalating tensions, preventing miscalculations, and supporting the cessation of hostilities, thus contributing to regional stability. It was also instrumental to enabling the deployment of the Lebanese armed forces in the south. In this regard, we commend the commitment of the Lebanese authorities to uphold their obligations and to exercise full sovereignty over their entire country. Mr. President, created in 1978, UNIFIL was mainly mandated to observe and to confirm Israel's withdrawal from Lebanon, to restore international peace and security, and to assist the Lebanese government in exercising authority over its territory. These objectives remain at the heart of its mission. We must ask, has UNIFIL fulfilled its mandate? Clearly, the answer is no. Lebanese lands remain under Israeli occupation. And we regret that our proposal to include a clear reference to the 1949 General Armistice Agreement was not retained. Without ending Israel's occupation of Arab lands, peace and stability in the region will remain elusive. Israel has yet to respect its commitments under Resolution 1701 and the cessation of hostilities arrangement. Today's resolution opens a new chapter for Lebanon and for the Middle East. Its implementation must be holistic, not selective, addressing all obligations, including those Israel continues to ignore up to now. The Security Council must also remain ready to revisit this resolution in light of future developments in accordance with the situation on the ground, and also the options the Secretary General will present under OP 10. Finally, and to conclude, Algeria pays tribute to UNIFIL's leadership, to its personnel, and to all troop and police contributing countries for their commitment, for their sacrifice since 1978 in the service of peace. We conclude by urging the international community to extend its support to Lebanon so that it may renew with stability and prosperity. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me first thank France for its tireless efforts in bridging significant gaps between Council members and guiding us to the adoption of this important resolution. As both a troop contributing country of UNIFIL and a member of the Council, the Republic of Korea voted in favor of this resolution with a grave sense of responsibility. Given the new strategic and operational context, UNIFIL's continued presence across the blue line is imperative in order to induce all parties' cooperation for the full implementation of Resolution 1701, which stipulates the full withdrawal of Israel from Lebanon and the disarmament of all armed groups in Lebanon. Yet, we are also mindful that peacekeeping mission cannot continue indefinitely and should focus on implementing the mandate efficiently, being mindful of their end games. This resolution reflects a careful balance between the two needs which led Korea to support the draft resolution. Against this backdrop, it is essential that UNIFIL continue to carry out its mandate in a responsible and professional manner until the mission's full withdrawal. In doing so, the mission should aim to ensure that the Lebanese government can exercise its sovereignty over its whole territory while also providing the necessary support to the Lebanese armed forces. We also take this opportunity to note the Lebanese government's sheer will to rise as the sole guarantor of its national security, which gave us confidence to vote in favor of this resolution. As stipulated in relevant resolution, including 1701, it is the host government's responsibility to ensure their citizens' security, and we call on UNIFIL to support Lebanon in this regard, in accordance with the resolution adopted today. Meanwhile, all parties should also take all necessary measures to ensure the safety and security of the blue helmets until the end of their term. Colleagues, as the Council envisions the end of this mission, it is imperative to think ahead on how the post-UNIFIL phase should look to ensure peace and stability across the blue line. In this context, we call for the Secretary General to present a genuine and insightful report on the post-UNIFIL phase that include actionable plans in accordance with the resolution. Such a report should guide the discussions within the Council on how to ensure the security of Lebanon, forestall any further resurgence of non-state actors in southern Lebanon, and prevent military escalation across the blue line. To conclude, we emphasize that close cooperation, and we call on the international community to extend its steadfast support. I thank you, Mr. President.
Agradezco a la
I thank the
delegación
representative
de
of the
Corea
Republic of
su
Korea
declaración.
for the statement.
Doy ahora la
I now
palabra
give the
a la
floor to the
delegación de
representative
la
of
Federación
the
de
Russian
Rusia.
Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель.
Thank you, President.
Российская Федерация
The Russian
проголосовала
Federation
в поддержку
voted in favor
подготовленного Францией
of
проекта
the
резолюции Совета Безопасности о
UN
продлении
Security Council
мандата
draft
временных сил ООН в
resolution
Ливане.
on the extension of the mandate of
При
UNIFIL.
принятии этого решения руководствовались прежде всего
When
позицией
taking this
Ливанской
decision,
республики как
we were
страны,
guided first and
принимающей
foremost by the
миротворцев на
position
своей
of the
территории.
Republic of Lebanon, a state hosting peacekeepers on its territory. This position, let us remind you, was set forth in detail in a letter from the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lebanon addressed to the SG, dated 27th of June 2025. We note the efforts of the penholder, France, which tried to take into account the priorities of Beirut, which is in keeping with the principles of peacekeeping.
В то же время, с
Having
сожалением,
said
приходится
that,
констатировать, что
regrettably,
полностью
we must
отразить
note
интересы
that
ливанцев резолюции
it was
Совета
not possible
Безопасности не
to
удалось.
fully reflect the interests of the
С самого
Lebanese in the
начала
Security Council
одна всем
resolution.
нам
From the
известная
outset,
делегация,
one
несмотря
delegation,
на
we
весьма
all know which one,
неоднозначную ситуацию на земле,
despite the rather
ультимативно
ambiguous
навязывала
situation on the
оперативное
ground, imposed
сворачивание миссий
ultimatums
миротворцев ООН,
so as to
выполняющих
swiftly
веренный им
wind
Советом
down
Безопасности
this
мандат.
UN peacekeeping mission entrusted with a Security Council mandate that it is implementing.
И хотя убедить членов СБ в
And while
нецелесообразности
the delegation did
дальнейшего
not
сохранения
manage
присутствия
to
голубых
convince
касок в
Security Council
Ливане, эта
members that it's
делегация так и не
unwise
смогла,
to maintain blue helmets in Lebanon,
результат оказался ниже
the
ожиданий
result
большинства
was
членов Совета.
below the expectations of the majority of Security Council
Тем не
members.
менее, мы сочли
Nonetheless,
возможным
we
поддержать
deemed
ту
it
развязку из
possible to
данной
lend our
абсурдной
support
ситуации,
to this
которая в
way out
конечном
of
счете
this
устроила наших
absurd
ливанских коллег.
situation, a way out which at the end of the day was agreeable to our Lebanese colleagues.
Мы, конечно же, не
It goes
оспариваем
without
тот
saying
факт,
that
что
we do
любая
not call into
миротворческая
question
миссия
the
ООН
fact that
носит
any
временный
UN
характер.
peacekeeping
Это прямо
mission is
закреплено и в
temporary
самом
in nature.
названии ВСООН.
This is what the name of the mission itself suggests.
Тем не менее,
It's an
хотели
interim
бы
mission.
напомнить о
Nonetheless, we'd
многолетних
like to
и
remind
весьма
you
востребованных
of
по
the
сей день усилиях миротворцев,
long-term efforts undertaken by peacekeepers which remain in
обеспечивающих с
demand.
1978
These
года мониторинг
peacekeepers since
прекращения огня
1979
и
have been
поддержание
monitoring the
безопасности
ceasefire
вдоль
and
голубой линии
upholding
между
security
Ливаном
along
и
the blue
Израилем.
line between Lebanon and Israel.
Временные силы
The
ООН
interim
выполняли и
force
выполняют возложенные на
implemented
них
and
функции
continues to implement
добросовестно и самоотверженно,
the
порой в условиях
duties
рисков
assigned to
для
them in good
здоровья
faith
и
and
угроз
selflessly,
непосредственно своей
often
жизни.
putting their own health and even their lives at risk.
Российская
The
Федерация
Russian Federation has
последовательно и неизменно
consistently and
поддерживает
unwaveringly
деятельность миротворцев,
supported
играющих
the
ключевую
efforts of
стабилизирующую роль и
peacekeepers who
сегодня в
play a
условиях
key stabilizing role
сохраняющейся
even
опасной
today
напряженности
as we see
Ливано-израильском
ongoing dangerous
приграничье,
tensions in the Lebanon-Israel border
откуда
area,
на ежедневной основе
whence we get
поступает
daily
информация об ударах
reports
Цахал и
about
нарушениях
ID
израильской авиации и
peace
воздушного
strikes
пространства Ливана.
and violations by the Israeli Air Force of Lebanese airspace.
В этой связи исходим из того, что
In light of
схема по
this, we
продлению и
believe that the
постепенному
plan
выводу в
that
СООН,
is extending and
предусмотренная
then
и
gradually
принятой сегодня
withdrawing
резолюцией, не
UNIFIL as
должна
per the resolution we
оставить
just
вакуум
adopted
безопасности
should
на
not
юге
create a
Ливана.
security vacuum in southern Lebanon.
А такие риски, судя по
However,
воинственному настрою
given the
правительства Израиля
bellicose position of the Israeli
и
government,
его деструктивным действиям в
as well
регионе,
as its destructive actions in the region,
осуществляемым при
which are being undertaken with cover from our US colleagues, mean that the risks of such a security vacuum remains in the medium term and the long term. We stand convinced that what is of principal importance is that for the cornerstone resolution 1701 to be implemented before a UNIFIL withdrawal from Lebanon. After all, after an eventual shutdown of UNIFIL, responsibility for the situation around in the area will fall squarely on Israel and Lebanon, as it states in the aforementioned resolution. This should not result in a conflict between these two parties. I thank you.
Agradezco a la delegación de la Federación de Rusia su declaración. Doy la palabra a la delegación de Dinamarca.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I also wish to thank and extend my gratitude to France as our penholder for having conducted these negotiations that led to the unanimous approval of this resolution. Denmark voted in favor of this resolution. We welcome the extension of UNIFIL's mandate to allow the mission to continue its important work at this crucial point in time. We commend UNIFIL's close cooperation with the Lebanese armed forces and note the record-high presence of the LAF in the south of Lebanon and a continually strengthened response from the LAF to reports of unauthorized weapons and of ammunition caches. These are positive signs towards the Lebanese armed forces becoming the sole security provider inside Lebanon. For this to be fully realized, the LAF requires international support, and UNIFIL remains an invaluable part of this. We look forward to the Secretary General's options on how to support for the LAF can be strengthened after UNIFIL's withdrawal, as requested in this resolution. Mr. President, we underline the importance of Resolution 1701 and stress the all parties must ensure that UNIFIL can implement its mandate unhindered, including with freedom of movement. All parties must also ensure the safety and security of UN personnel and UNIFIL facilities. We would like to extend our gratitude to all UNIFIL peacekeepers who have served selflessly and tirelessly along the blue line, putting their lives at risk to protect others. Mr. President, to conclude, let me reaffirm Denmark's full support to UNIFIL and to UNIFIL's peacekeepers. I thank you.
Agradezco a la delegación de Dinamarca.
I thank the representative of Denmark for the statement, and now give the floor to the representative of Greece.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to thank the penholder, France, for its tireless efforts in successfully steering the discussions. Greece has voted in favor of the renewal of UNIFIL's mandate. We consider the mission a reliable and critical partner of the Lebanese government, a pillar of stability for Lebanon, and a key enabler of regional peace and security. UNIFIL's support to the deployment of the Lebanese armed forces, its assistance in the detection and disposal of unauthorized weapons, its perseverance in upholding the cessation of hostilities and monitoring the implementation of Resolution 1701, as well as its assistance in the safe return of the displaced population, are all vital to promoting stability in Lebanon and the wider region. In parallel, the Lebanese government has shown determination to stay the course, despite daunting challenges. The recent decision of the Ministerial Cabinet to approve a roadmap for the disarmament of Hezbollah constitutes a courageous and welcome move. In the same vein, reports indicate that the LAF has assumed control of 90% of the positions previously maintained by Hezbollah south of the Litani River. It is now time to seize the momentum. Strengthening cooperation between UNIFIL and the LAF in the months ahead will be crucial to enhancing the operational capacity of the LAF, consolidating the state's monopoly on arms, and extending its authority over the entire territory of Lebanon. Full respect by all parties for the ceasefire and Resolution 1701 remains indispensable. At the same time, the safety, security, and freedom of movement of UN personnel must be guaranteed. along with the inviolability of UNIFIL's premises. Meanwhile, the international community should intensify support for Lebanon, particularly in the timely implementation of much-needed reforms. In this vein, the Council has a responsibility to address the repercussions that will emanate from ending the mandate and to ensure that it will not create a security vacuum. Greece has already committed to increasing its support to the Lebanese armed forces, while already contributing to the mission with a frigate and staff at the Nakura headquarters. In conclusion, Mr. President, while in principle we believe that the ending of the mandate should have been condition-based and the text is not ideal, we stress that UNIFIL's transition needs to be safe and orderly in close coordination with the host country. We sincerely hope that the Lebanese government will in the coming months assume full sovereignty over its territory and that both parties will advance towards a comprehensive political settlement. Greece, as Lebanon's neighbor and long-standing friend, stands
French colleagues for their leadership in guiding the Council through the process of renewing UNIFIL's mandate. The United Kingdom has always been a strong supporter and to the memory of those who've made the ultimate sacrifice. The UK voted in favour of today's resolution, which allows UNIFIL to operate for 16 months before an orderly withdrawal. However, it is disappointing that despite the best efforts of the penholder, the Council was not able to make this significant decision on the basis of an evidence-based assessment of the impact of UNIFIL's withdrawal. The United Kingdom believes that a premature withdrawal of UNIFIL would risk fostering a security environment that Hezbollah can exploit. That would harm communities on both sides of the Blue Line and set back efforts for a long-term political agreement. The decision to end UNIFIL's mission also comes in the context of a continued Israeli presence in southern Lebanon and near daily overflights, airstrikes. These actions are not conducive to stability across the Blue Line, and we urge Israel to withdraw its forces and respect Lebanon's territorial integrity. We condemn Hezbollah's attempts to maintain weapons outside of state control and agree that the Lebanese state must become the sole security provider in southern Lebanon. Indeed, we have supported the Lebanese armed forces for over a decade. They've made clear strides, but increased international support will be needed to allow them to take ownership of security in the south. President, 19 years ago, Resolution 1701 established a framework for lasting peace across the Blue Line. We regret that UNIFIL is set to withdraw before that resolution has been implemented in full. In that context, we call on all partners to redouble their commitments to creating the conditions required for security, stability, and a long-term political solution in southern Lebanon. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, President. We'd like to begin by expressing our appreciation to France, the penholder, for their efforts and skilled facilitation of the negotiations. We welcome the adoption of this resolution. First, let me reiterate Slovenia's strong support for the mandate of UNIFIL. We commend UNIFIL for its vital work, both in carrying out its operational duties and in maintaining continuous engagement with all relevant stakeholders. We also pay tribute to the UN troops and staff of the mission who, despite challenging and dangerous conditions, continue to carry out their mandate with dedication and courage. This is all the more commendable in light of the difficulties endured during hostilities along the Blue Line in late 2024. We reiterate the call on all parties to cooperate with the force and to guarantee the safety, security, and freedom of movement of UN personnel. The inviolability of UN premises must be upheld at all times. We further underscore our call to all parties to uphold their responsibilities under international humanitarian law. Particularly, UNIFIL remains indispensable. Its continued presence is a vital stabilizing force along the Blue Line and in the region. Without the mission, tensions would likely escalate rapidly, significantly increasing the risk of renewed conflicts. UNIFIL's core function of monitoring, deconfliction, and coordination with the Lebanese armed forces are indispensable to prevent further destabilization. In this context, renewing UNIFIL's mandate is not merely procedural, but essential, serving as a critical buffer against renewed instability and supporting Lebanon in gradually assuming its responsibilities and exercising full sovereignty. We welcome the progress achieved in the recent months. Nonetheless, the security situation remains fragile. The political process needs time and space to advance, while recovery and reconstruction efforts are only beginning. This merits careful consideration and cautious adaptation of existing mechanisms in order to prevent any vacuum. That includes continued work of UNIFIL and orderly and safe drawdown and withdrawal from 31st December of 2026 on. It also includes consideration of options and of international presence for the future. All efforts must continue being geared towards the full implementation of Resolution 1701 as the basis of long-term security along the Blue Line. Due to the reasons mentioned, Slovenia strongly supports the renewal of UNIFIL's mandate. We understand the divergent views within the Council, but at the same time think that a strong and united message is important for Lebanon and its armed forces, for UNIFIL, Israel, and the wider region. Let me conclude, Mr. President, by expressing our deep gratitude to all troop contributing countries for their role in promoting regional stability. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Slovenia for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Peacekeeping operations are indispensable for advancing UN Security Council mandates. UNIFIL has been critical in maintaining stability along the Blue Line and in its area of operations, helping to de-escalate tensions and reducing risks of confrontation. Mr. President, throughout the negotiations on this resolution, we consistently stressed that any consideration of UNIFIL's withdrawal must be conditions-based, informed by strategic assessment of the situation and the realities on the ground, not driven by arbitrary timelines. We commend the Lebanese government for its efforts to assert state authority, including by deploying over 8,000 troops south of the Litani River. But it is worth recalling that Lebanon requested the renewal of UNIFIL's mandate and not its withdrawal. The resolution before us represents a compromise. We appreciate the constructive efforts of all parties and commend France for its deft handling. While the text does not fully reflect our position, we have gone along as it encapsulates a compromise that garnered consensus. During the forthcoming period of UNIFIL's mandate, the Council must ensure 1. Full redeployment of LAF to the south of Litani River. 2. Safe and orderly transition in close coordination with the host country. 3. Enhanced international support to LAF to strengthen its capacity, including through the lifting of any existing restrictions that impede its ability to fully and effectively discharge its responsibilities. 4. Israel's withdrawal from all Lebanese territory, including the 5 positions and 2 buffer zones in southern Lebanon. Lastly, full implementation of Resolution 1701 and progress towards a sustainable political solution based on the options to be provided by the Secretary General and in consultation with concerned parties. Mr. President, UNIFIL has discharged its mandate with professionalism in contributing countries for their dedication and sacrifices. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Somalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to thank France presence remains a critical element for the collective efforts to safeguard Lebanon, the capacity of the Lebanese armed forces to assume full responsibility for the defense of Lebanon's territory. We urge the international community, as this resolution does, to intensify its support, including equipment, material, and financial assistance to the Lebanese armed forces to ensure their effective and sustainable development south of the Litani River and to fulfill the duties and responsibilities. Mr. President, Somalia supports this extension. While we understand that it should serve as a decisive window for consolidating the mission's achievement, reinforcing the authority of the Lebanese state, and creating the conditions necessary for sustainable transition. We emphasize that UNIFIL's transition and drawdown must be conducted safely and in an orderly manner and in close coordination with the host country. We call on Israel to withdraw its forces from all Lebanese territories, including the 5 positions in southern Lebanon, and cease the daily air and drone strikes on Lebanese territory, and to comply with its obligations under international humanitarian law, including those pertaining to the protections of civilians. We call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint, adhere strictly to international law, and avoid any provocations that could endanger Lebanon's security or the wider regions. To conclude, Mr. President, Somalia reaffirms its unwavering support for the Lebanon's sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity. Achieving a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in the Middle East is only viable through enhanced and genuine commitment to dialogue in accordance with international law and the United Nations Charter. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Somalia for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I join others in thanking France, the penholder on this file, for managing this final unanimous renewal. The United States welcomes today's historic vote, which brings an end to the UNIFIL's mandate in a responsible, orderly, and time-bound manner. It does so by renewing the mandate for a final time while directing UNIFIL to cease its operations on December more than 1 year. The United States notes that the first I in UNIFIL stands for interim. The time has come for UNIFIL's mission to end. This is the last time we will support an extension of UNIFIL. The security environment in Lebanon is radically different than just 1 year ago, creating the space for Lebanon to assume greater responsibility. We commend the Lebanese armed forces' deployment progress since the cessation of hostilities went into effect, and we will continue to work with the LAF to expand its capabilities as Lebanon carries out its critical work in disarming Hezbollah. We support the government of Lebanon's efforts to assume security responsibilities throughout the country. We urge the international community to use the coming year to bolster the Lebanese armed forces as we work toward this shared objective. We must use this time to set Lebanon up for success. We also recognize Israel's legitimate security needs and interests, including the need to defend itself from Hezbollah. Support both our Lebanese and Israeli partners to sustain progress toward full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, the responsible drawdown of UNIFIL, and the strengthening of the Lebanese state. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of China.
President, to ensure a smooth mandate renewal for UNIFIL, and especially by considering the position of Lebanon, the host country, China voted in favor of Resolution 2790, which was just adopted. I will make 3 points. First, for some time, the situation between Lebanon and Israel has remained tense, with Israel occupying 5 locations in southern Lebanon and 2 buffer zones, launching frequent attacks on Lebanon, causing massive civilian casualties and civilian infrastructure damages. The Council just adopted Resolution 2790, categorically calling for the implementation in good faith of the Lebanon-Israel ceasefire agreement, unequivocally urging Israel to withdraw all its troops from southern Lebanon, clearly reaffirming its support for Lebanon's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity, and sending a strong political message to end the violent conflict and restore peace and stability between Lebanon and Israel. We hope that all parties concerned will effectively implement the resolution, find a solution through dialogue and consultations, support UNIFIL's active fulfillment of its mandate, ensure UNIFIL's safety and security and its freedom of movement, and work jointly to fully implement Council Resolution 1701 and achieve lasting peace in Lebanon and Israel. Second, for years, UNIFIL has significantly contributed to the maintenance of peace and stability along the Blue Line and in the region at large. The international community has broadly recognized and commended its contribution and expects UNIFIL to continue its role. Regrettably, despite the thorough constructive efforts and flexibility shown by France, the penholder, and other Council members, due to the stubborn insistence of a permanent member, Resolution 2790 represents the last mandate renewal for UNIFIL, which will have to end its mandate and start withdrawal by the end of 2026. Indeed, no UN mission should exist permanently, but no mission should withdraw in haste while the situation remains tense. With the situation on the ground being fragile, UNIFIL's role in maintaining stability is indispensable. However, in total disregard of the tensions on the ground, in total disregard of the legitimate concerns of Lebanon as a host country, and in total disregard of the strong voices of the vast majority of the Council members, a permanent member has this practice of imposing one's will on others and taking ill-conceived and arbitrary actions is disappointing. Third, setting the deadline for closing UNIFIL comes at a time when the UN is experiencing a serious liquidity crisis and the member states are discussing the UN 80 initiative. China believes that the most direct and effective solution to the current liquidity crisis lies in all member states paying their assessments to the regular and peacekeeping budgets in full and without conditions. China supports the necessary reforms to the United Nations, reducing personnel and expenditure, improving quality and efficiency, with a view to better adapting to the changing reality. But this should be done on the premise of
reform cannot become a reason for non-fulfillment of financial obligations, let alone an excuse for arbitrarily abolishing PKOs, regardless of the situation on the ground. UN PKOs are the collective decisions of the Council and reflect the collective will of the Council. A certain country, based on its own strategies and policies, categorizes the existing UN PKOs into different tiers, retains what it deems useful to itself, and closes what it deems useless to itself. This selfish and irresponsible behavior is not acceptable and should be rejected. Thank you, President.
Agradezco a la delegación de China.
I thank the representative of China for the statement. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as representative of Panama.
Panama, Excellencias,
Your Excellencies, Panama welcomes the adoption of the resolution that renews, albeit for the final period, the mandate of UNIFIL. We would like to pay tribute to France for their work in leading this process, as well as all members of the Council for their valuable contribution to the mandate renewal. We would like to express our strong support and acknowledgement to the work of the mission and the peacekeeping personnel, whose commitment has been essential in supporting relative stability in the south of Lebanon, even in the midst of tensions and recent challenges. Their presence, which remains necessary, has contributed significantly to helping the Lebanese armed forces to strengthen the state's authority and establish safer conditions for civilians. As we look towards the last stage of the mission's work, Panama trusts that the conditions in the south of Lebanon will positively evolve towards lasting stability, to respect the sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity of Lebanon, in line with Resolution 1701. Thank you. I resume my function as President of the Council, and I now give the floor to the representative of Lebanon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since this is the first time that I have the honor to represent my country, Lebanon, in this Council, allow me, Mr. President, and through you, to the rest of the Council, we express our appreciation to you, and we look forward to cooperating with you in the coming days. I also thank you for holding this meeting. I also thank all member states in this Council for their positive engagements in the negotiations that led to the adoption of Resolution 2790. I especially thank the penholder, France, for their constructive efforts to guarantee consensus. I also thank all friendly countries in this Council, Lebanon, but also supported its just position. I would also like to commend UNIFIL and express our appreciation to its role and efforts within its mandate and the sacrifices of its personnel, past and present, especially those who sacrificed their lives while performing these noble functions of maintaining peace and security. We salute their courage in the darkest of times. We also thank the governments of troop-contributing countries that spared no effort to achieve the same noble goals. Mr. President, Lebanon welcomes the resolution of the Council to extend the mandate of UNIFIL. However, given that this is the last extension, we would like to recall the following facts. First, Lebanon still considers UNIFIL's presence as essential to guarantee security and stability in Lebanon and the region until we reach a comprehensive political understanding on all pending issues pursuant to Resolution 1701, and supporting the Lebanese state in extending its control over its entire territory, UNIFIL that takes into account the progress made in this regard and the full withdrawal of Israel of all Lebanese territory. Second, the ongoing daily Israeli attacks on Lebanon and the systematic targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure, in addition to preventing the internally displaced persons from going back to their homes, their villages and lands. Although, since the announcement of the cessation of hostilities arrangement on the 26th of November 2024, the source of these violations, of all relevant international resolutions and this arrangement has been Israel. Second, the Lebanese government, although recently formed, has made a number of important and unprecedented decisions that reflect the aspirations of the Lebanese people in extending the control of the Lebanese state on the Lebanese territory, to control the borders and to restrict weapons, including those in the Palestinian camps, pursuant to the Taif Accord and Resolution 1701. Fourth, in order to implement the decisions of the government, the Lebanese army has deployed south of the Litani River almost fully. What is preventing the full deployment is the fact that Israel still occupies some areas there. Mr. President, given these developments today, Lebanon believes that its full responsibilities in maintaining the security and stability of Lebanon and the region, even after the end of the mandate of UNIFIL, and Lebanon reaffirms it will continue to cooperate with UNIFIL during the remainder of its mandate. We will continue to respect the status of forces agreement to guarantee the security and safety of the personnel of UNIFIL and to facilitate its orderly and safe drawdown. Second, this Council and the Member States of the Council shoulder a legal responsibility to prevent Israel from violating Lebanese sovereignty and from preventing the reconstruction of the state according to the aspirations of the Lebanese government and the Lebanese people pursuant to operative paragraphs 3 and 4 of this resolution, and the full, complete and unconditional withdrawal of Israel from all Lebanese territory, including the 5 border areas, and lifting the so-called buffer zones and the unconditional and immediate release of all Lebanese prisoners. Third, countries guaranteeing the cessation of hostilities agreement must abide by their obligation in this regard and compel Israel to fully respect this arrangement. Fourth, the international community must accompany the tremendous efforts made by the Lebanese government and the Lebanese army to build a strong, sovereign and capable state, and to support them through all possible means and without any delay to guarantee that Lebanon goes through this critical phase safely, to contribute to achieve the desired social and economic stability. Fifth, enough and tangible support should be given to the Lebanese army without any delay at the bilateral and multilateral levels to assist the army to carry out its responsibilities alongside other security institutions. Mr. President, we reaffirm that Lebanon will continue to look towards the United Nations with all its agencies and bodies, including this august Council, as a reliable partner and a fair and objective representative of international legitimacy. Lebanon continues to believe that UNIFIL's presence is a guarantee for Lebanon and reflects the principles of the Charter that call for strengthening the language of peace peace and dialogue among nations instead of the language of war and glorifying military strength and resorting to military strength to impose new realities, which, even if it achieves momentary gains, we know that it will not achieve the necessary peace among nations and will not lead to sustained security and stability. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Lebanon for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would like to thank France for their efforts at the penholder. It took place a few minutes ago in this council, and after 47 years of what was meant to be an interim presence. I remind you, UNIFIL, it was an interim mandate. Today we can declare that UNIFIL is concluding its mandate on the border between Israel and Lebanon. We are at a decisive moment for Lebanon, Israel, and the region on what comes next. For decades, UNIFIL has been tasked with maintaining peace and security along the Blue Line. Yet, as its very name suggests, this was never intended to be a permanent presence. UNIFIL was meant to provide temporary stability while lasting solutions were being pursued. The reality is that from building one of the world's most dangerous arsenals, nor has it upheld the very resolutions this Council adopted. UNIFIL has consistently overlooked Hezbollah's vast military buildup, weapons depots, and terrorist infrastructures have been discovered across southern Lebanon, some alarmingly close to UNIFIL positions. Yet in its reporting every year to this Council, UNIFIL rarely names Hezbollah and frequently downplays its activities. UNIFIL's bias has provided Hezbollah with cover to entrench itself under the illusion of international supervision. Israel has honored its commitments. Since the start of the ceasefire understandings in November 2024, Israel has reported hundreds of Hezbollah violations to the US-led mechanism, including breaches of resolutions 1701 and 1559. However, Lebanon has struggled in its response. The Lebanese armed forces have acted on some violations. We have to admit that. But their limited capacity and dependence on Hezbollah prevent effective enforcement. Strengthening the LAF and ensuring its independence is essential if Lebanon is ever to reclaim full sovereignty from Hezbollah terrorists. Israel is prepared to advance dialogue with Lebanon, including talks on the enforcement of the Blue Line, on the condition that Lebanon takes concrete steps toward fulfilling its own obligations. Council members, we are presented with a unique opportunity today. Hezbollah has been weakened in the aftermath of war following the October 7th massacre. That has opened a window for Lebanon to move toward disarming militias, as mandated in resolutions 1701 and 1559. Lebanese leaders have spoken positively about restoring sovereignty. Now, those words must translate into real action, beginning with dismantling Hezbollah's military infrastructure. But despite the ceasefire in place, Hezbollah continues to rearm. It smuggles weapons across the Syrian border, transfers funds through Beirut International Airport, operates weapons factories, and deploys UAVs against Israel. Hezbollah fighters remain south of the Litani River in direct violation of this very Council's resolutions. These actions are not isolated incidents. They are part of a systematic effort to prepare for the next bloody conflict, and Israel will not stand idly by. This Council must respond with clarity. Hezbollah must be condemned explicitly for its terrorist activities, for violating international law, and for attacking UNIFIL peacekeepers. Softened language only emboldens further violations. Accountability begins with calling things by their proper name. Never forget the lives taken away from us in Israel from Hezbollah terrorism. Let me remind you what happened about a year ago, when on July 27, 2024, when young children were playing soccer in the northern town of Majd al-Shams. The world was shattered when Hezbollah murdered 12 of these beautiful children. Their parents were forced to recover their remains. The missile that murdered them was Iranian-made and supplied. These innocent children were in harm's way because of the comprehensive failure by UNIFIL forces and the Lebanese government to implement Resolution 1701. Israel will continue to do whatever is necessary to defend its people. Until the ceasefire understandings are fully implemented, the IDF will maintain a presence at 5 strategic locations along the Blue Line. Our goal is simple: to ensure that residents of northern Israel can return safely to their homes and communities. Finally, let's be honest with ourselves. Most of you, or maybe even all of you, ignored the root cause of this issue: Tehran. The Council must hold Iran accountable arms and funds to Hezbollah, often through Syria, Turkey, and even direct flights, commercial flights. All that in flagrant violations of the arms embargo under Resolution 1701. Iran's interference destabilizes Lebanon and threatens the entire region. The Security Council must condemn these actions unequivocally. Mr. President, the time has come to chart a new course, one that empowers the Lebanese state, holds Hezbollah and Iran to account, and restores the authority of this Council's resolutions. Israel stands ready to work with all responsible partners to achieve a safer, a better future for both Israelis and Lebanese. But that future cannot be built on denial. It must begin with confronting Hezbollah's violations directly. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Israel for the statement.